morning and welcome to Mental Health Mondays. My name is Jenna Kelland. I'm a holistic nutrition coach, mom of 3 kids with special needs, and owner of Spark Wellness. I look forward to meeting with you every Monday to talk about mental health, and some weeks we've got a guest like today. So today we have Julie Mann, who's going to be speaking to us on our topic of mental health. So Julie, why don't you start by telling us what got you interested in the topic of mental health?
Hi everyone. Yes, about when I was actually 39, I was pregnant with my daughter Katie. And one of the things that I do is that I'm an actor, and I was actually working for IKEA. I don't know whether you have IKEA in Canada. Anyway, so I was the voice of IKEA. And I would go every year and do maybe 5 days of recording, voiceover work. And I really loved working with this particular client. We had a great relationship. We always had fun. I always enjoyed what I was doing. But what happened during this particular voiceover completely changed the course of my life, really, because what happened was I experienced this kind of this rush in my body, which looking back, I can see was the hormones that were kind of raging around my body. But what happened in that moment was that I was completely rendered speechless. Now, if you're a voiceover artist, that's not really very useful. But, you know, it probably only lasted a few seconds, maybe moments, but actually it seemed to last forever. And it scared me so much that I then became really frightened that I would keep experiencing this. So before I go to the next voiceover, I would be worried, you know, between the last one and the next one, as to whether or not the same thing was going to happen. And it then became a self-fulfilling prophecy. So that every time I had this, but I'd have the kind of experience of this anxiety, this kind of panic attack that I labeled it, I would have that happen on a regular basis. And in the end, I thought, I don't know that I'm going to be able to carry on doing what I'm doing. And I would go into a voiceover studio and I would find myself making excuses. And even though I'd always get through the voiceover, because I expected to have an experience of this panic attack, that's exactly what I'd have. And they always, at the end of the voiceover, they were always really happy, but it just was so debilitating in so many ways. And it affected my confidence, not just, you know, before the job, but in every area of my life. So what happened as a result of that was that I thought, you know, I'm going to have to find a way of dealing with this, because this is just not working on any level. And I went to see a hypnotherapist. And what happened after a series of hypnosis sessions was that the panic attack stopped. And it was such a relief. And I was so kind of gobsmacked that I'd had that experience, and that something so debilitating for me personally could be overcome, that I thought, oh my goodness, if someone could do that for me, what if I could train to be a hypnotherapist? So that's what I did. And then I had life coaching. I was still acting as well. And then I discovered EFT, which is if you don't know, it's a tapping technique. EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. Very simple, but very strange looking technique. And I decided to work with other people alongside my acting work, and then later on, I started my own business. So, you know, personally, it had such it was such a life-changing thing to transform that habit, that I really, really wanted to make a difference to other people.
That's really interesting how when we have these negative experiences, I've also gone through panic attacks, and how going through that really can redirect or change our focus to something new and different. So for you, you went into hypnotherapy and then life coaching and EFT.
Yeah.
How did those particular strategies or approaches work for you? How did that, you know, reduce the panic or reduce the anxiety?
Well, with the hypnosis, then you know, obviously, if you know, there are lots of myths around hypnosis. People seem to think that they're going to be out of control. Actually, the hypnotherapist is just working with you, and if you know, you are unwilling to take on the suggestions, it's all about them suggesting something. If you're unwilling to do that, then you simply won't do it. And I think there are lots of misconceptions because there's stage hypnosis where you see people running around being chickens and,
Right.
imagining everyone naked and all that sort of stuff. That's one thing. But that's a totally different thing to going to see a hypnotherapist. So what happened was that I would lie down and she would play some music, and she would talk to me, and I would just really relax and listen to her suggestions. And then she would record that hypnosis at the same time. So I would take home a recording, and then I would listen to that in between sessions. So that's one thing. With life coaching, that can absolutely help. But I think EFT is a really great thing for interrupting patterns. So all of them really are about changing the programming that we already have. So that got programmed in for me, that panic attack. I labeled it. That became who I was. I was someone who suffered from panic attacks. So I kind of identified myself with that. And for people who have never had one, they don't really know what it's like, and they just think it's a bit strange and silly, and they just don't get it. But if you've ever experienced them, then you absolutely know how profoundly debilitating they are. EFT is a very simple tapping technique. It works by tapping certain points. So it's based on the meridians, the energy lines in the body. You don't have to have any understanding of it. And the premise behind it is that any negative emotion, of course, all emotions are good emotions, but these are labeled negative emotions, or phobias or addictions, anything like that, is a disruption in the body's energy system. And the practice works because we tap on specific points, on the face, on the hands, on the chest, under the armpit, top of the head, and also use language. So it's about using language that the brain is willing to be curious about. So we can't tell the brain what to do. Our brain does not like to be told what to do. It knows exactly what it does. It does what it does very well. It's like a computer. So if you fed it information in, i.e., I'm someone who has panic attacks, then that's exactly what it's going to keep giving you. So it's about really offering tapping, but also offering suggestions so that the brain becomes a little bit curious and maybe thinks, what if things were different? So it kind of opens up another way of looking at things that the brain is willing to engage in. And if we don't look at what's going on subconsciously, then we really don't stand any hope of changing anything, in my opinion. That our brain is running the show, and that's how come we don't have to learn to walk every day, or that's how come we can drive from A to B and get to B and think, how did I get here? It's all automatic.
Right. I think that's really interesting that, yeah, we can't stop our brain. I've had panic attacks. You can't just say, okay, stop this. This is ridiculous. It doesn't work. Your brain triggers your body, and it triggers your hormones and your neurotransmitters and all of this, and it overwhelms your body. So in the moment, it's really hard to like change your thinking or change that response. But you're right that, if you can change some of those patterns or beliefs, that might give you a little bit more options to deal with the panic in the moment, or to hopefully avoid it so you don't end up in that situation.
Yeah. Also, I think that, we can be very unkind to ourselves. We lack compassion for ourselves. And if you are experiencing, that discomfort, even though consciously you might be thinking, why am I doing that? I can't believe I'm doing that. I'm so weak. It should be so easy. Why can't I do it? Until we have some kind of understanding of why that's happening, it can be very challenging to be compassionate. And I think that it's okay to be anxious, if we accept that sometimes that is the way it's going to be. But actually, anxiety and feelings of anxiousness and excitedness, it's actually the same energy, and it's how we choose to interpret it. So coming on here, I could say, I'm really scared of this, or I could say I'm really excited. Either way, it's, so it is about how you look at it, and, and at all times, doing what you can to be kind to yourself.
Yeah, I think that compassion is really important when we are going through anything difficult, but especially something maybe that we don't understand or don't feel we can control, to really be gentle with ourselves, much like we might treat a friend or a child or such, rather than getting self critical. I think that gets in the way of us making changes and seeing results.
Yeah, and what you said then about being out of control, for most people, we don't want to be out of control, whatever that
Mm,
is.
yeah.
And that's part of the problem, that it's about controlling everything. But, life isn't like that. Life is challenging. Day to day, we experience challenges. And, we cannot, the only thing we can control really is the way we choose to look at the world, and the way, our interpretation of how it is. We have the only control we have is of our own behavior. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's really important to start and recognize that we have control maybe of the conscious part, but not the subconscious directly. So having some of these tools that can help us make shifts subconsciously or such can definitely help us produce some changes. Yeah, by looking at things differently and understanding what's going on in our brain. It is complicated, and there's lots
It
of
is
things happening.
complicated, and it's quite simple as well. So, but I guess, ultimately it's about the willingness to want to change something.
Mm-hmm.
Because we can just so write ourselves off. Well, that's what I do. I'm stupid. I'm this. I'm that. But actually, it's asking. Is that true? Is that true? And is this who I am? We literally aren't the same person we were an hour ago, because our cells are changing,
Mm.
dying, new ones. So, to look at ourselves like we're always the same way it isn't actually a fact.
Right, it comes back, and we go off on another topic, but around the growth mindset, right? And that things are not fixed, that we have the capacity to grow and change and develop
Yeah.
and continue growing. Yeah, well, that's really great stuff. And I like that you've got some different strategies and things that you tried for yourself and then have shared with other people too. I think it's always interesting how people's experiences kind of shift their idea of how their life was going to go. And we
Yeah.
take on new skills or new experiences or make new connections because of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you were going to sum up, what you want to tell people who are watching in terms of, a message of inspiration or a strategy or something they can take out of this conversation, what would you want to share?
I would say focus on what you want rather than what you don't want. So
Mm.
when I was having the panic attacks, I was focusing on, oh my goodness, I hope I don't have one. I was just living it over and over and over in my mind. So of course I would bound to be, having that as an outcome. Um, you don't have to think about, if you don't have any money, you think about not having money. Well, you don't get any money. You think of, if you're someone who says, I always have 3 colds a year. Guess what? You have 3 colds a year. So it is about the way you look at something. So what you think about, you actually bring about. So, if you focus on something, it expands. If you're really scared of something and you focus on that fear, all you get is more fear. There's no other choice. But if you think about something that you love, or something that makes you happy, or then you will also feel differently about that. I mean, we know that music is a great state changer, because we've all got a bit of music that we absolutely love and we feel really pumped, or we feel really relaxed, or it reminds us of a certain time. We can absolutely change our state by changing that, and also our physical body, physiologically. If we if stand with our shoulders back, it makes a difference. If you're looking down, you're not going to see what's going on, but also you're in the kinesthetic part of your brain, which is the feeling part, so you're much more likely to be in the feeling. So that's how come people who often don't feel great about themselves are slumped and kind of bent, so actually standing upright or sitting upright and just physically altering your position, or even just going out for a walk to change your state. It's about movement. Move, and then you can move all sorts of things emotionally too.
Oh, great. I imagine as an actor too, you tap into that when you put your body in a different position, that helps you to connect to different feelings as well.
Yeah, definitely. You want to embody a character, that absolutely makes a difference. Yeah, but I remember, when I started acting, and when I was working, I worked at the National Theatre, which is quite a prestigious theatre in London. um, I would be absolutely terrified. I mean, it's really only in the past couple of years that I've really felt happy in my own skin, despite all the work that I've done. And, so um, at that time that I was waiting in the wings to go and do a performance, although I'd be excited because I was at the National Theatre, I'd be absolutely terrified as well. And I didn't see that I could choose to look at that as excitement rather than,
Mhm.
fear.
Yeah,
Um,
and you're right. Physiologically, they're the same. Our body doesn't differentiate. It's what the story we tell ourselves that says, "Oh, this is scary," or "This is exciting." Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
I had an
Yeah.
interesting experience. I was in France in high school, and so I was trying to. I'm anxious about this in a positive way, like I'm excited about this. I said that, how do you say that in French? Like, I'm anxious to get there. Like, I want to get started. And they're like, oh, well, you don't say anxious. That's a bad, like, that means worried. So, but in English, we sometimes use that language even, I'm anxious to get started. I can't wait to get started. So, even the language sometimes
Oh my
can
goodness.
mean good things or bad things, depending on how we use it, even the word.
Language is so important, isn't it? Because the moment you say I'm scared and you declare that to the universe, then you reaffirm to yourself that's what you are. So words are enormously powerful.
Mm-hmm.
When you hear yourself say, whether it's in your head, or you actually say to someone, oh, I can't do that, I'm it really just makes that even worse. It kind of really digs it in. And I choose to say, well, what if I can?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
My kids have come home too with yet. I can't do that yet.
love that.
And how that opens up the possibility instead of it being I can't do that, period, end of statement. It's but maybe I will be able to. So yeah, those
Yeah,
shifts in language are powerful.
I
So
think as well. Also, I think as well, people talk about mental health, like there's something wrong. We all have mental health.
yes.
It's you know, um, and there are times when we're more challenged than the others. That's a normal thing, isn't it? So um, yeah, if we look at it as a problem, it really does become that, a bigger problem.
Yeah, well, and our physical health changes as our circumstances and things change, so our mental health will also change and be more optimal sometimes and be more problematic maybe other times. But that's probably a natural process, and it's how to, just like we would physically, how to get to that best place where we can be right now.
Yeah, and I think as long as we're doing our best, that's the thing, isn't it? And it's
Mm-hmm.
little steps. It's just little steps, and really acknowledging ourselves for those little steps.
Mm-hmm. For sure. All right, so Julie, if people are curious or want to talk to you some more or find out more about what you do, how can they get in touch with you, or what can they do to follow up with you after this?
So I've got an email, Julie Mann at Arbonne, Julie Mann, JulieMannArbonne at gmail.com. I do know what it is. So just send me an email. I'm on social media, Julie Mann on Facebook, Julie Kim Mann on Instagram, and I'm on LinkedIn, Julie Mann. So come and find me. I'd love to chat to you and yeah, talk further.
Okay, well, I will put those links into the notes for the show and such, so people who want to follow up with you can and find out more about what you're doing and keep track, because I know you've got some new projects you're working on and some things coming up as well. I've been seeing hints on social media, so it sounds like you've got some exciting things coming.
Yeah, I just started a YouTube channel, and it's really about it's called Real People, Real Transformational Stories. And I think that the world is crying out for real. if you are feeling scared, be real about it, and so it's really the people I talk to are people who have overcome something, because we all have to overcome something
Mm-hmm.
in order to grow and to live a life that we want to live. So that's what the channel's about. So yeah, so please do subscribe to my channel too.
All right, that's exciting. So thanks everyone for joining us for Mental Health Monday. We'll be back again next Monday with other guest speakers, tips, strategies, information, really anything around that topic of mental health and how to support your own optimal mental health. So thanks for joining us and see you again next week. And thanks so much for being here, Julie.
Thank you.